Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Pat Ziemer here with MagnaWave. Glad to be here with you today. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been here. Things have been kind of hectic with some travels that has been going on. Lanes out of the country, working on some stuff in Europe. So it's just been kind of an interesting time. But I'm here today. Glad to be here. If you have any questions for me, please post them in the chat box here on Facebook or YouTube, and we'd be happy to answer those questions, or in the certified practitioner page as well. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to just bring things up, be bringing them up, but there's been some reviews. A veterinarian did some reviews of our website and called us out on some things. But that, in my estimation, were not necessarily accurate. We're going to respond to that. If you have questions about that, please post them. I'd be happy to take a look at them and answer them as well. I will kind of cover some of that as we go along here today. So again, we're here to talk with you. If you'd like to give me a call and talk about something, we can do that. It's 502-414-3436, 502-414-3436, and we can talk directly about whatever it is that's on your mind, or any questions that you may have about all the activities going on through the internet and around the country in the last few weeks. So we're happy to do that and have that question. I did get a call or an email the other day. A woman received, I think it was Dee Smith actually, but received an email from someone talking about wind turbines and the fallout of EMF and the fallout of other signals that come from those particular wind turbines, and that it was damaging the availability of her horse to foal. And so they were talking about, and the link went on talking about the damage that happens with these signals, these electromagnetic signals that come from the wind turbines, and it can be damaging to the foals. And they were pointing that out. And she called out PMF in her thing that she sent, that it can be damaging or hurting the animals, and that is not a case. And in fact, the PMF that we incorporate can be very helpful to help clean up the body from the EMF signals that we receive. We do receive EMF signals, what they call electrosmog, from high tension wires running through our neighborhoods, or microwaves, TVs, telephones. A lot of different things put off electrosmog that is not good for us and can be damaging. As we've pointed out on many other occasions, if you utilize PMF to have good blood flow, good blood oxygenation, you can help clean the body, or keep the body protected in many respects from the damaging EMFs that we are all subject to all the time. I'd never thought about wind turbines, or the great big windmills that you see generating electricity, if they could put off some signals that could be damaging. But they're creating energy, and they're doing that, and they're electrically operated. So certainly they could fall into the area of EMF or electrosmog. And it was a very interesting article that this person was talking about. Dealing with her farm is right next to a bunch of wind turbines, and it's affected, as I said, the breeding. And they're reaching out to the people that operate the wind farms and to see what they're going to do, or if they should do, or what the issue may be. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed. If there's a lot of issue with that, I mean, there are people that if you live under the high voltage wires, the huge towers that carry the wires, the infrastructure of our country and of our electricity, there are people that are very uncomfortable if they live or around those towers with the high voltage wires. Well, some people get that feeling, as we've always talked about. 1 out of 100 people or so, when they get around MagnaWave or they're treated with MagnaWave, they're uncomfortable. It's not a comfortable situation to them. That could be because of their toxin level. If they have a high toxicity, it could just be their electrical system of the body is not comfortable around these types of situations. And if that's the case, they need to stay away. Don't expose yourself to things that are uncomfortable. And I'll kind of cover this as well. People have talked about, when you talk about EMF, the radiation that you pick up from your cell phone or your computer or your whatever it may be, high tension wires outside of your home, you'd have to take a machine, put it on high, put it on your body for 17 hours. That's just a number that we came up with a few years ago and doing a mathematical equation in this to get 1 second of the exposure that you get from your telephone, because it's radiating continually. And so those are the way those kind of things fall into place. And it was an interesting article. We want to certainly do some research to make sure, and continued research to show what we do and how our device fits in the area of wellness and helping someone maintain their health and keep their body clean, if you will. Hey, Tracy's with us today. Kristen's with us. Hi, Kristen. Got a Facebook. Leilani, aloha from Leilani. Hello, Leilani. Northern Lights is with us. Joanne is with us. Corrine's with us. Izzy's with us, or Izzy, I guess we'd say Izzy, from Kentucky. There you go. Mary Beth's with us. Mary is also with us. So if you have a question, please post it in the chat box, and I will certainly cover it for you. Can you reiterate doing humans with metal implants? When is this a problem? I have a client with a titanium rod. Just want to clarify that. Thank you. Okay, we always talk about over the years, and I'm going back 20 years, we've never had any issues reported or any issues treating people that have had metal implants in their body for hips, knees, whatever, the rods for injury repair, and that type of situation. I also want to talk about stents. Someone asked a question about stents. But so we've never had any issues with that type of thing. If your animal has a rod in its leg, and I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of the animal, or even from the perspective of the Aura Wave, the Nova HD device, you always recommend that if you're doing treating someone with the Nova HD, or a horse with the MagnaWave, or an animal with the MagnaWave, and they've got that, we always recommend treating at a moderate setting, a lower setting, for 2 or 3 minutes, just to make sure that there's no discomfort. We want to do that for just validation reasons in that type of situation. There was a situation, and it goes back years and years ago, where a woman had a breast cancer, and they put a shunt, or what I call the head of a needle, the tip of a pin in her breast as a target for the radiation in order to be able to treat. That pin was so small, or that shunt was so small, that utilizing some PMF devices, it became warm to her. And so because of the size, but when you have some size, we've had no issues with staples or anything like that in an animal's wound that you can go in and take and begin to treat. But we always recommend that you, number one, consult the veterinarian that you're dealing with, or the doctor that you're dealing with, if somebody wants that with the Nova devices or the Aura devices on the human side, and that you confer with the doctor and always tell them what you're doing so they can be comfortable in that situation. But as a rule, we've not experienced any issues with animals with rods, plates, or anything like that in their system. But we always want to check and just make sure. You know, it's kind of like this. If you tell me I'm going to put this on my shoulder and I'm going to feel warmth, I don't care what you do. You put it on my shoulder, I'm going to feel warmth. So you want to do it. You want to put it on the animal, and if it gets warm, the animal will walk away. They won't want to have the additional heat generated if there would be an issue with that. If you're dealing with a human and they're trying to have some wellness treatments, and you put it on and they feel some warmth, then just move it. Put it someplace else and go from that perspective when we're dealing about general wellness with the devices. So hope that helps with that particular question. Let's see if we have something else. Okay, nope, someone's in Colorado. So again, if you have a question, simply post it and I'll cover it. Okay, someone also asked the question if they were using the Nova HD and they had a stent and so forth. And you have to, number one, you certainly don't want to treat or do a session with someone that has a pacemaker or a defibrillator or anything like that. But again, the metal thing is something to consider. Always talk with the doctor if you're using the Nova HD on a person to help them feel better. Always consult with the doctor about what you're doing. I can say my wife has 3 stents and treats herself regularly with the devices and has had no issue. Her doctor's aware of it and doesn't mind what she does. A stent is totally different than a pacemaker or some type of pain relieving pump that you may have implanted in your body, or a defibrillator. We always stay away from those items. Now, there are some new pacemakers that the doctors say, if as long as you're a foot away, it's not a problem with the signal that's being generated. Again, you always clear anything you're doing or discuss anything that you're working on with the doctor, the veterinarian of the animal, or the person that may want to use your device, your Aura devices for health and wellness. Okay, new comments. Let me go down here. And hello. Jan asked the question for COVID. If someone, and again, if they're using the Nova HD and they've had COVID, can it help with their general feeling of well-being? Can it help with their blood flow? Can it help give some relief in those areas? I would think that it might be able to be a bit beneficial in those types of situations for people who have chest congestion or anything like that, to help them relieve that or help rejuvenate their body in that regard. Would certainly be something that you would want to pursue and have a look at. I know that in outside of the U.S., where PMF is different as far as how it's accepted as mainline medicine or how it's used, they have a lot of different applications that they use the devices for. In the United States, there are, and this is part of the article that the veterinarian was talking about, hasn't been used, there's no studies, there's da-da-da-da-da. All you got to do is go to PubMed, and there's hundreds of studies. And we have done studies in Cuba with our devices. The problem today with a lot of PMF devices, they didn't do studies, or they have not done studies with their devices. They go pull studies from PubMed or various places that have been done with different devices and so on and so forth. And they go and they find those studies and they attach them, or they talk about them and what they're doing. We went to, had an opportunity, we're working with some doctors in Cuba. And even though Cuba is what Cuba is, and Cuba's doesn't, you know, they do have a medical system. They do publish to medical journals. They are a recognized medical state around the world. And so we were able to go in there and have some studies completed. A couple of reasons was cost. We were able to manage the cost a little better and to just start the whole process. And just to give a little background on that, there have been, with the high power devices like we have, and there's other companies that have them, basically have been no or very limited studies with those devices over the years. And so we wanted to start the process of studies with our device, so people would understand that we were actually doing something and documenting with these devices, not some other device of a totally different power, totally different application, and say, oh, well, look, it's PMF and this is what it does. That's not how it really works. You do a study, or you do some work, or you borrow, you contact, you make the comparisons with what your device does with an existing device, and that's where you get a predicate FDA approval from. And so there's ways to do that as well. But the documentation on that, the fact that the devices are the same, that you can tie into a given study that was done because your device is basically the same or delivers a similar, very similar type of signal as the device that you're linking to, that's okay. But it's not an easy process. I was just in a meeting a week and a half ago as we're talking about some of the devices that the Aura company, MagnaWave, has in the FDA approval process. And so you're going to do a predicate approval where we're going to say it's like this device. Well, then you have to prove through testing and evaluations that it's similar, it's the same. And so then you can do a predicate FDA approval. You just can't say, well, it's PMF and we're PMF, so we're going to do that and it's going to work. That's not how it works. So I kind of got off track here where I was going with that. Imagine that. But that's kind of where the things are with the FDA and the whole processes. That's why we went to Cuba, was to basically establish a foothold that, look, we've done some stuff and look what can do. Now, as we step it up and you go to a university, and we are working with universities now, University of Tennessee among being one, in the veterinary space, doing some studies with them on the animals and the equine population that they have, to again build on what our devices do and how they can be how they can serve to improve the health and wellness of those animals. So we're working with several different schools and doctors around the country, and some mainline human clinics have reached out to us to utilize our equipment in a pilot study. Basically, what they're wanting to find out is, a lot of time, and this is on the aura side of the house, but it is a study that we are working with. If a woman has a radical mastectomy and they remove the breast and her cancer was an estrogen-based cancer, they basically put them on what they call aromatase inhibitors to stop the development of estrogen in their body. What happens is they experience incredible pain. It's much like arthritis all over the body, or rheumatoid arthritis, where it moves and you got it here and tomorrow it's there, and so forth. And so they want to try to keep these women safe and control their estrogen so the cancer does not return. What happens is they are in such pain sometimes, many of them, that they stop their medication. They'd rather have no pain than the protection. And we've kind of figured out, doing some tests, that our devices, or the PEMF, can be beneficial to help them deal with that pain and stay on their medication. And they take a device home and use it. Quite often they have used medication, they've used acupuncture, but you got to go somewhere for acupuncture. You got to buy the medication, take the medication, experience potential side effects and so forth. But what we've kind of experienced is that the MagnaWave, or not the MagnaWave, the potentiality of providing comfort to these people with PEMF is showing some promise. So we had a leading clinic in the United States reach out to us, and we're in the process of doing a 10 to 15 client preliminary study to document how it helps them with their pain relief and their comfort as they're going forward. If that works out, we're going to do a full-blown, double-blind study that very expensive, but we're going to try to handle that and put those kind of things together that are beneficial for your animals, and for those of you on the human side who are dealing with the aura products, can be able to address those types of things and learn from them. So that's what's going on there. All right, we've got some questions. Can a practitioner get too much MagnaWave? My hands have started tingling when I treat a horse, and hands tingle periodically. Well, again, every person reacts differently to the PEMF. Some people are comfortable around it. There have been a couple of practitioners that I've dealt with over the years that after their full day of work dealing with the device, they were uncomfortable, or they didn't feel they would recoup over evening. Number one, you want to make sure that you've got good vitamin supplementation. You are perfectly hydrated, so you want to hydrate. You want to drink electrolytes, just like we want the animals to do the same thing. So if you keep yourself hydrated and good, then, you know, if you've got a toxin buildup and you detoxify a little bit, you're going to have the hydration there to keep you good. As a rule, 99% of the people have no issue. I've been doing it for 20 years every day, and I'm not doing 10, 15 horses a day any longer, but I never had an issue, and most of our people don't. But everyone is different. Their electrical sensitivity, or the sensitivity is different from person to person. As a rule, the answer is no, or we've not had any of those types of issues. Hope that helps. I gave a session to a person with severe nerve pain in his back and across his chest. He had back surgery a while back. I had him lay on the mat and use the butterfly loop on the sides in his chest. He felt more loose but the pain was still there. What would you recommend for a person with nerve pain? I have a duo. You know, when you're dealing with those types of situations, and someone would like for you to provide some service for them. Number one, nerve pain in an animal, when a nerve is damaged, you can have inflammation of your muscle tissue, and you'll get inflammation, and you can help relieve that inflammation in muscle tissue very quickly and bring some comfort to the animal. When you're dealing with nerves, a couple things happen. Number one, they're slower to inflame, unless it's an acute injury, or, you know, or just something that happened and you've shocked the nerve or you've hurt the nerve, and bingo, it's there. But a lot of times, if there's a pinch or there's a conformation issue, or, you know, just how they're going, there's a lot of things. Weight of the person, knees, leg strength of the person, saddle fit. A lot of things can interfere with the nerve, how people ride in their car. Do they sit up, lay back, whatever their situation is. Nerves, once they're there and they're bothered, it takes a longer time to get rid of the inflammation, because, you know, when you finish your treatment, your body, however it is aligned, is going to try to bring that right back into where it was. So in situations like that, it in many cases takes multiple treatments to relieve nerve inflammation, get the inflammation out, get the tissue around it. This is a lot of stuff when you're talking about the fascia. As the fascia comes down into the cartilage, it's around the nerves. If the fascia is inflamed, the fascia's got issues, it's going to irritate the nerve. If you don't treat if you're doing a horse and you're not treating the hip area and the whole fascia line down to the joint, you're going to have the potentiality of some additional complication or some additional involvement with the other parts of the body. That's why we've always recommended the full horse treatment or the full animal treatment, to just keep everything flowing well and properly. I hope that helps. I would certainly, the number of treatments is probably the issue that you want to deal with there. I can tell you, when we first got into the health and wellness side, and my wife had her herniated discs, it took us 90 days of treatments. Took us 60 days of treatments, and she got 2 weeks worth of relief after we stopped. And then we did another 30-day round, and she got 4 weeks worth of relief. And that's pretty much where she's been now for the last 17 years, is that 2 or 3 treatments, 1 or 2 treatments will get her 3 to 4 weeks worth of relief. She doesn't have to treat herself 30 days. So we got it controlled to where it's there. And yet she goes to the doctor, and they say, my God, we got to do something about your back. I don't see how you walked in here. And she says, I'm fine, because she controls her inflammation in that manner. Okay, let's see. Can you please, let's see, where'd that go? Okay, can you please share that MagnaWave has special partnership with Gold Wowie CBD, and we are offering practitioners 20% discount. Oh, okay. So it's posted in there. We do have a relationship with Leilani and Gold Wowie, just as we do with Max and the C60 and the other folks that the HydroWave and so forth. And the links are in the practitioner portal. If you'd like to go into the portal and click the link, and you can learn about, and there the link is on the screen, and you can get an initial discount on your first purchase if you want to try those products, and then you can go from there. You can wholesale the products if you'd like. It's all available and described in there. So perfect. Thank you for sharing, Leilani. And we're going to do a program with Leilani and talk about the CBD. There's a lot of folks that have had great success with her products. There's a lot of folks that have had good success with the HydroWave and the C60 products as well. So we want to help you have things that are beneficial to you and your practice. Okay, can you touch on the yellow cord for the machines? There's been a lot of questioning about using it on wall outlets that are not grounded versus only on Jackery and generators. There is a difference in power sources. And when you get a machine, if you've got a yellow cord, it's because of the way the machine is made, and it's got to be into a grounded outlet. So actually, what I'd like to do is have Emily post or Teresa or Carson post into the comments the response to that, when to use and when not to use the yellow cord. And if you do, and if the machine doesn't work, change the cord, and then you'll know what kind of situation you're dealing with. It's amazing. People will say, oh, I plugged it in over here and it worked fine. I plugged it in over there. It didn't work. It's amazing over the years when someone builds a house or builds a barn and they hook up all the plugs and they're all made properly. And this plug over here wasn't grounded properly. And so you try to plug something in that requires a ground, it won't work. And so that sometimes those situations are there. So we put the plugs with the devices. So if you get into that situation, which they will fully explain, you'll know that which plug you have to use. Okay. Use the Julian Duo and a magnetic mat at the same time. Do I need a different outlet just because both running are so powerful when you use at home? Please advise. Thank you. Good morning. Could I use the Julian Duo and a magnetic mat at the same time? I don't know. Please clarify your question for me, Mangela. You talking about a magnetic mat on a different machine, or are you using the Julian Duo and using the mat and a coil at the same time? I'm not totally do I need to use a different outlet? No, you don't need. If you're plugging two different machines into the same outlet, our machines only take the power of a 60-watt light bulb basically to operate the device. And so you're not drawing any power. That's going to be an issue that you could not plug another machine into that wall outlet. And I can't speak for every barn or every place that you're dealing with when you utilize the devices. I know over the years when I would be working horse shows and we're dealing in tents, and so they're using generators and got a lot of power running through all over the tents, and a million extension cords. So there'd be times that you plug in and there wasn't enough power to run anything. The fans would not be running or whatever. So that's the kind of situation that you want to deal with. But typically, if you've got a good power and a good outlet, you're going to run two different things at the same time. You can plug it into two different receptacles. That's fine, but you don't have to. Okay. You may very well need to address your body mechanics while you're working. How you're holding the attachments, how you stand, squat, lift the machine, etc. It's very common for someone who is doing a repetitive, prolonged activity to start having those types of nerve irritation. Perfect. It is important. What kind of shoes are you wearing? What's your height as far as the animal that you're treating? Do you need to stand on a box or something? In some cases, you could do that to have a little better control on what you're doing. Are you always using the same hand to control the paddle or the butterfly or whatever it is? Alternate in what you're doing to keep yourself in a situation that you don't fatigue and cause a situation in your body. Thank you, Kate, for sharing that. I would like to connect you with my client. I told him about your products after meeting you at the MagnaWave convention. Would you privately PM your contact details? Of course, I will. I'll try to do that, Patty, to put them on there so I can contact or be in contact with this person for a year with you. Not a problem. You should share the Jackery price you sent it. It was amazing. Maybe Emily or someone can put that the current pricing for the Jackery into the box. I don't want to say that because I don't know what it is at this juncture on the website, what the current Jackery pricing is for the various units. Okay, so yes, Emily answers the question about the grounding power cord needs to be used with the Soul Pro, Pulse Pro, Julian with the membrane faceplates. Here's the info. So there's a link there that you can click. It's the membrane faceplates that require a particular type of power to be utilized. Okay, if you have any other questions, let me see if anyone has called that I need to dial back. No, nobody wants to talk to me. I always say that, but that's not the truth. I enjoy visiting with folks all the time. All right. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, and I'd be happy to answer them. If you'd like to talk with me, send me a text to 502-414-3436. I will call you back, and we can have a conversation about that. I will go back and address here a little bit. As I was saying, there was a veterinarian who, let me say a couple of things. In the veterinary world, FDA approval is not required to have devices and to experiment with devices and do that type of work. In the human side, you must have, if you're going to make claims and you're going to do things, you must have FDA clearance, or you must be FDA registered with your device and fully outline what the device is used for. Now, as I said, on the veterinary side, that is not necessarily the case. There have been many different devices that started out as veterinary products that then moved to the human spectrum, became FDA cleared, and are used on the human side based on the safety testing, the claims that they make, and the testing they've done, and the studies they've done, or the studies they've predicated their device on. So that can happen. But there have been a lot of devices, a lot of different concoctions, if you will, that started out on the equine side or the animal side and then moved to human. One of them that I'm very aware of is the Lubricin product. Started out as a veterinary product used for providing hyaluronic acid orally to the animal to help with joint inflammation, comfort, joint pain, so on and so forth. Performance issues utilizing this liquid hyaluronic acid with Lubricin. They then moved down the road and got all their stuff to be able to be used and marketed on the human side. They had to cross their T's, dot their I's, much as what we're doing as well with the devices that we are involved with at Aura Wellness and MagnaWave. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit, because some people have made the comment, well, you know, you don't have any background for your product on the veterinary side. Well, we do. And we're doing that, as I said earlier, we're working on that with several universities and their veterinary programs to substantiate and validate what we're doing with the products. A lot of people have not done that over the years. In the United States, that's because in the 1800s, the AMA took the practice of acupuncture, massage, chiropractic, electromedicine, and various things out of what is called mainstream medicine in the United States. In other countries, these are mainline, they're used all the time, they're a lot of different studies and so forth. So in the United States, in the PMF world, we've had to build up and have devices that are cleared, are approved, or are cleared with, if the word is clearance, with the FDA. You're registered and cleared if you get to specific levels of their certification. There's class 1, class 2, and class 3 devices. And so that's where many devices are. The Aura, the Nova HD, the Aura product line, is an FDA registered class 1 device for general wellness and body rejuvenation. It's a magnetic massager, and that's how it is placed in that area. As we finish our FDA processes and have other things completed, then we'll be able to, and people, customers, practitioners will be able to make claims associated with those devices and how they are prescribed to be used. And so that's the way we wanted to do it, is to cross our T's, dot our I's, do the paperwork, get certified with the ISO and so forth, to play the game above board. Not that people are below board. I don't mean to say it that way, but to make sure that someone can ask the question, are you doing this? Have you done that? Are you doing studies? What's going on? We want to have all of our ducks in a row and do it properly. All right. Let's see. Okay, there's the pricing on the Jackery's put up there with some links. Okay. So Manjola, thank you for the explanation. Sorry, I wasn't clear. I got the Julian Duo and also the Oasis mat. The mat has the coil where you connect to the Julian Duo. I tried it, and then a red blinking light will show up. I turn off immediately. Not sure if both were too much together. That's a question that we need to probably, thank you for posting that. Perhaps we can get that to engineering and they can have a look at that and give you an answer to that question. Let's see. Gary asked a question. MagnaWave Performance magnified in California. Hello from BK, MagnaWave Performance magnified in California. Hello, Gary. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for getting the loaner machine to me so fast within a week of my Soul Pro going down. Well, you're welcome for that as well. We want to make sure we can do everything we can do to keep people able to keep it so people can better operate their practices and take care of the animals and so forth. Any other questions? Post them in the chat box. Let's see here. Ashley asked a question. I just want to share with you, Pat, I have worked with a child who had transportation of great seizures, had transposition of the great artery surgery at a week old with a consistent sessions. The doctor reported this summer most post-surgery has lessened, his heart sounds stronger, and has avoided surgery to insert balloons in the arteries. That's wonderful. And obviously they're working with the doctor to better understand the wellness opportunities that they have available to help in that type of situation. Thank you for sharing that, Ashley. Where can I find Maya versus the Beamer? Well, there are some comparisons. We used to have some comparisons at various places on the website of the various strengths of devices. The explanation from my perspective as I approach the Maya device that is capable of reaching upwards of 8,000 to 9,000 Gauss of energy on the delivery, and the Gauss delivered from the Beamer devices or many low power magnetic devices are in the 35 to 50 Gauss range. And so that's why quite often those devices are used more often and for longer periods of time. They're good devices and they do what they say they're going to do. It's just a matter of speed and that you're looking for the result or the achievement of comfort that you want to provide to your animal as you go forward with what you're doing and how are you using the devices. So the lower power devices are on with the animals, the blankets and so forth are designed to be used for 30 minutes to an hour a day, every day in many cases, and to achieve some time of the result that we're looking for, where we can treat or do a session on an animal for 10 minutes or for 30 minutes if you're doing the whole animal, and you've accomplished what it would take weeks to do with lower power devices. I'm not saying it's kind of like light bulbs. I was in a meeting the other day, an FDA type of meeting, and we're talking about how energy is delivered and what's going on. And you can have a 100-watt light bulb in your room and you can see pretty well, whereas if you got 10-watt bulbs around the room, they're putting out light, but they're not lighting the room the way 100-watt light bulb will broadcast the light out. And that's the difference between a high power device and a low power device. They all work. They all put out the energy and the light that you're looking for, if you will. And it's just a matter of one putting out more light that can be absorbed more rapidly and give you a feeling of better feeling more rapidly. That's the basic difference between the two devices, a higher power device versus a low power device. Hope that helps. Do you have a chart that explains the difference between PMF, laser, TINS, etc. Devices? I get this question all the time at agility trials. I didn't see anything in the practitioner portal. That's a great idea to basically the descriptions. We do have some descriptions and with the websites changing, I'm not sure exactly where they are, but I can kind of give you a little bit of an overview at this point. The TINS devices are for pain relief, and it basically goes in, stimulates an area with the electric signal to an area. They'll put it on 2 different points. Let's say if you want to deal with this muscle, you'll put a pad here and a pad here with the gel, and you'll massage that particular muscle at that point and give you some pain relief on that point. Microcurrent, on the other hand, they look the same, they operate very similarly. However, microcurrent actually is designed and shown to help the cellular healing process. So that's where some people will use them both at the same time, or they'll use 2 different devices to do that. They'll use the TINS for pain relief at a very specific location. They'll use the microcurrent to aid the healing process. Laser is doing the same very thing. The laser goes in. It can class 3 lasers that I grew up with. You would move them around the area for a longer period of time, maybe 30 seconds at a spot, move it around the shoulder to treat the whole shoulder. Now, with the stage class 4 lasers, they're much more powerful, and they're able, much like our devices are more powerful, they're able to go in if they know what they're doing. Class 4 laser requires some understanding and training so it can be safely used. As you're doing that, but it speeds up the time that they're using the device, and it allows them to be more specific in what that device is doing. PMF, on the other hand, is basically an amount of magnetic energy that if you put it on the same shoulder, you're going to penetrate the skin, the muscle, the nerve, the cartilage, the fascia, the bone, everything that could have some inflammation or discomfort, and going into those whole areas to provide some relief to that area. Are they stackable? Most certainly. There's a lot of folks that will use a PMF device and a laser device, or they'll use the LZR, the red light feature of the LZR type of device in association with the PEMF. I do it all the time as I'm treating myself. And or you could use a laser, or you could use microcurrent and TENS. There are people that you can go buy a TENS unit very inexpensively and put it on your muscle and do something. And then if you've got a PEMF available to you, do some stacking sessions in that manner. Okay, but Emily's with us, and I'm sure that they can either get you some information, Patty, as to where that information is, basically explaining what they all do. But basically, MagnaWave penetrates everything. Laser is more specific to where you want to go, or red light is more specific to where you want to go. TENS is pain relief. Microcurrent is cellular healing. And that's the differences in those devices. And they all have different applicators and how they're done. Each piece of equipment is typically different. But that's just a little quick overview for you. Hope that helps. Another question, can you use MW on a person with brain inflammation who suffers? Again, all those situations, we recommend the MagnaWave products are for veterinary use, the Aura products are for human use. Now, when you talk to a doctor, and part of the situation in the United States is that and how would I say this? A lot of companies have been making a lot of claims, or they'll base claims on studies that they pulled out from PubMed and did things, and the FDA doesn't like that. And if they're aware of it, they will take action and do things. So number one, there are a lot of physicians, chiropractors, and people who have used various devices off-label. They can prescribe a device. When I was selling for another company years ago, back in 2002, 2003, and I would have people that use the particular leg boot that we had for knee replacements to get them some, but the device itself was manufactured in Canada, used in the United States for veterinary, but the doctors that I dealt with said, that's good, I'm going to prescribe that for my clients and go down that road with the insurance or so forth. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But a doctor has a wide range of availabilities as to how they can use particular devices and use them in their usage, or in their whatever, to better combine what they're doing. Now, when you take and you look at, again, devices that are registered and approved with the FDA, and you look at what they can be used for, use them for that rejuvenation, to help the body with the blood flow, comfort, and so forth. You can do a lot of things. Now, with that said, could you take a Nova HD product that is FDA registered for rejuvenation and comfort and place it over the head on the shoulders and be treating the head and the shoulders to help address the situation that you're talking about? Yes. You always, again, want to talk to your doctor, explain what they're doing, let them experience it, let them understand what is happening at that point. But the device very clearly states what it can be used for: sports rejuvenation, pain, so on and so forth, that you can use. And one of the direct results in a lot of the situations is inflammation reduction. Okay, let's see. Dizziness, I don't, Manjola, I must have missed a question where we were talking about something. What is the simplified answer when clients ask why the LZR red light therapy versus having their veterinarian use their hot or cold laser? Well, the red light therapy is in fact that. It's light emitting diodes that will penetrate into the tissue, into the area that you're wanting to work with to help the LZR is an FDA registered FDA device, is designed much like a heat lamp would cause relief and so forth in an area. You know, and a lot of people do their own thing, that not that they're trying to avoid the veterinarian or whatever, but they'll do some things that they have access to and then utilize a veterinarian. Hot and cold lasers are very good. They're very effective in what they do, particularly you know, when you talk hot and cold laser, a class 4 laser is not necessarily considered a hot laser. You can make it hot. That's where it's very important, if you're using a class 4 laser, to be trained on how to use and how to function that particular piece of equipment. Very important. Class 3 lasers, what they call a cold laser, for sure, does not have the strength as a class 4 laser. The signal is different, and you can use it more specific as you go around the body. So there are many doctors who have used red light therapy, veterinarians, in their practices. Some have technicians who use lasers. Some of the doctors themselves use lasers. Some of them do acupuncture themselves, or they have an acupuncturist on their staff or whatever to combine and stack the various therapies that are available to them. And so the red light therapy, as we've talked about, with the doctors, and have shown that it's very good to help relieve pain, to help the blood flow in particular areas, particularly when you stack it with another modality, whatever you choose that modality to be, to help, you know, if you're using PMF and the LZR therapy, that's good. The LZR is a little bit like our PMF. A laser needs to be pretty much targeted. Now, they make some heads on lasers that are good size that you can put on your shoulder and move it around your shoulder pretty effectively, in whether it's 10 seconds for a class 4 or 30 seconds on a cold laser, a class 3 laser, and move it around that area to get good penetration into the tissue. They don't go deep. They go a couple of centimeters, but then your fallout, it's kind of like rain. When it rains, you get rain over here, but then the rain moves down the way, and you got a covering over here, but the water still gets to those plants because the way the water flows. So you get that benefit when you use lasers or LZRs. The whole thing is the LZR is broader in spectrum when you apply it. If you're treating a shoulder area on an animal or whatever you're doing, you can separate the hair or the fur and go be specific in some areas as you're treating to help garner the result that you're looking for. The heat is good, the light is good and beneficial, and you can use it accordingly. So I hope I'm answering your question. Lasers are more specific in how they're used. The red light, based on how the device works, is more general. They're both trying to do the same thing. It's easier for us or for some practitioners to utilize the LZR as opposed to according to what they're doing. Now, light, a laser will stimulate acupuncture points. PMF, MagnaWave, will stimulate on the animals acupuncture points. And so you can go to a specific area, you can put the butterfly, you know where the acupuncture point is on the animal, but you don't know exactly where it is. They make devices, Centurion makes one it's a pin, and several devices have this, that you can move it and it comes on when it hits the light comes on when it hits the acupuncture point. With the butterfly, and you know where it's at. Let's say it's on the hip and you're close, you're going to get it and stimulate the point. Same thing with the LZR and the size of the spectrum of the light. If you separate the skin, separate the hair on the animal, and put that and maybe move it a little bit, you've got a lot of light and a lot of the spectrum going in there to help stimulate those points. And so, you know, I used to kind of talk about when I was doing horses and I was studying acupuncture and where the points are and what to treat and so forth. I kind of called MagnaWave the acupuncture for, I don't want to say, anyway, it's just easier to get the points and to stimulate them in many different things. Now, there's folks that are going to tell you, nope, the only way to do it is with the needle, with an electronic charge, or this or that. And that's true. And if that's how they build their practice and that's what they're working on and they get the results they're looking for, that's great. And but that gives you a little bit of a background on the difference between the red light therapy and the laser therapy. They are different. But okay, let's see. I've been using, let's see. Oh, okay, veterinarian. Teresa asks, I've been using the Maya on people for over a year, so I can't do this. You can't make claims. You're basically using devices that are, by virtue of being able to sell them and the market accepting them and not doing anything adverse to what the basic rulings call for, how you use a device is your situation, your responsibility as a practitioner. So the question comes down to people making claims. And people do make claims, and they shouldn't be making claims about what something will do when the device they're using is not specifically approved to be used in that particular fashion. And so that's kind of how it all shakes out. That's where there have been folks who have been called out by state veterinary associations or veterinary boards for practicing veterinary medicine because their website may be talking about what they say this device can do, and the veterinary boards, no, that's a veterinary's decision. So as long as you don't say the things that can construe, and I'm not saying don't, you know, but you should present yourself in a manner that supports the devices that you have and that you're using and people and using on animals and so forth. And, you know, the best way or going down the road to how to look at these various situations is to present yourself in a manner that you're using. You have a FDA, if you're treating people and your goal is to treat people and your goal is to market that you're treating people and your goal is to gain people on the claims that you be able to make, various devices will be able to make different claims, then you should have a device that fits that thing. And then you use that device in your practice for those clients. And you go from there as to which device you're using and so forth. But on the veterinary side, and we had to do this basically because the FDA said to us, there's a lot of folks making claims. We want to address that. And if you're going to do this, this is what you can say. And this is what you can do. And we all know that doctors use devices off-label. Other practitioners, chiropractors, and other folks who use devices, massage therapists who can use. Some states don't allow massage therapists to have other devices. Some states do. So how they're using the device for what they're working for, are they using a device what is called off-label, or are they using a device that's on-label? So they can discuss accordingly. And so we structured ourselves with the FDA. So we have a separation. We understand what the separations do, and we understand what we can say on the veterinary side, because on the veterinary side, we can say more about what these devices can be used for because it's veterinary. It doesn't have the same requirements that human does. And so the FDA basically said to us, the cleanest way to do this is to separate them so people understand what they're using. And as people go along, do they cross over? That's entirely up to the person. The important thing is that you're not making claims that cannot be substantiated. You're not making claims that would appear that you're potentially practicing veterinary medicine or some other form of medicine. You want to be very clear in how you use your devices. Now, 20 years ago, it wasn't an issue. You know, we would contact the FDA for questions or something, and they'd say, "What?" There was no depth of penetration. There was no market availability, so it wasn't an issue. We all operated under what was called the complaint-based, in the veterinary world, complaint-based supervision by the FDA. If someone was doing something, or if someone mislabeled something, or someone hurt something, and someone complained, the FDA has every right to come in and say, wait a minute, we need to look at this device and how you're using it. Or we need to look at this procedure and how you're using it in the veterinary space. Complaint-based observation. That's still there in many regards in the veterinary space. And so we just are having to alienate, or not, but align ourselves to various areas so practitioners and people who use it understand what they're doing and what they're using. And that's because the number of devices, not only from us, but from our competitors and other people out there around the world, the number of devices has increased dramatically. All that being said, if you're a practitioner, none of us have scratched the surface on the availability for how you can help animals with your devices, small animals, big animals, wild animals, all that kind of stuff. And if you choose to associate with a human line of products, then you can use those products as they're specified in their areas. I hope that helps. If you want to talk more on that, you want to give me a call or request a call, we can do that as well, so I can better further answer those questions for you. Any chance there will be insurance codes for the human line of devices? Yes, there are some companies that have human codes already. Some insurance companies do not recognize PMF therapies, but as it changes, I mean, today there's the Incella device, FDA approved for female incontinence. The Optune device, FDA cleared. I said approved on the Incella, FDA cleared for female incontinence. The Optune device, FDA cleared for glioblastoma tumors, and to help the tumors shrink and to do those kind of things. That's a cleared device, PEMF. They've done the studies. They have the certifications. That's what that device is being used for. What's happened, and so then you got the TMS devices, transmagnetic stimulation devices for autism and depression, and those things. There's the Ziemer device, no relation to the Ziemers, but the Ziemer device that was one of the first devices approved by the FDA for non-union fractures and for surgical spinal injuries that aren't healing. The bone is not healing the way they want to. And so these devices were created and specifically stated to be used in those types of functions. And so what's happened is, as we get more and more devices registered with the FDA, cleared by the FDA for uses based on the predicates that they were set up for, the insurance codes are coming. Companies are recognizing it. And I've been told from day one when we started working with the FDA that once you get the FDA clearances, which we have we have one device FDA registered. We have 3 FDA clearances that are in the process of the FDA evaluation and the documentation necessary to provide to the FDA for these devices. These are oral wellness devices, 3 additional devices that are being in the FDA clearance process with specific claims that can be associated with those devices. I've been told from the beginning, once you get all of that, now you got to go to the insurance companies and convince them that your device will save them money or will help them do what they are doing with regards to their coverages. And that process on its own is almost as daunting as crossing the T's, dotting the I's, getting the certifications as FDA approval. However, the more that begins to happen, the insurance companies are saying, uh-oh, we need to get on this because, you know, this thing's really working. This is helping people with glioblastoma, brain tumors, to live a better life, to live a longer life. I don't think that they've had a lot of total reversals with it, but they do get people who are better, live longer, have more of a full life utilizing that technology in those situations. Same thing with the Emcella and the other devices, the Neotonus device. So the more we get, the better off it's going to be. So to answer your question, there are codes already available in the chiropractic space, even in the medical space, for muscle manipulation, for frequency therapies, for various situations like that. We want to work into specific codes. So my answer is yes, that's going to happen. Is it going to be quick and easy? No. But again, the more people that decide they're going to cross their T's and dot their I's and bring their devices to the forefront, will be better to make that. It's kind of like the electronic vehicles, the electric cars. The more stations you get, the more you'll be able to charge your cars. And so the more that happens, the more electric. It's already happening. They're doing it because there's more and more electric cars on the market. You're going to see more and more charging stations at various places to charge your cars, out of necessity and out of comfort to what they're doing with that particular device, be it a car or a medical device or a veterinary device. So that's where that's at with regard to codes. In the veterinary space, there's insurance for horses, and there have been companies that have paid for and prescribe or allowed the doctor to prescribe PMF treatments, our devices in some of those cases, to treat the animals, and paid for the services as a veterinary insurance, equine insurance product. So all that's coming. Again, I get to talking and away we go. My gosh, we're out of time. Let's see if there's anything, any chance there will be insurance codes. We talked about it at MagnaCon down the road. Who makes acupuncture pin that lights up? There's a couple of them, Lisa. I know Centurion has a laser device with a pinpoint head available to it that you can move, and it'll show you when you're actually on the acupuncture point. And there are some others that have the point finding pins available to them. Centurion's had this since 2002 when I first started doing lasers and PMF therapy. Let's see. So we can say, Teresa, again, it's in the strictest, that's why when we had the Nova HD device registered with the FDA as an oral wellness product, we put some programs together for someone who wants to advertise and promote and build their human business with PEMF, that the Aura device gives them that availability to do that in a manner that they can talk about what they're doing and not cross any lines. And I'm only saying this because the information that we have is that the FDA is looking at how devices are used in the veterinary space and then used in the human space if people are making claims about what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they're using those devices. And so in some respects, I know a year or so ago, several companies got letters from the Federal Trade Commission based on what they were saying in their marketing and their advertising. Other companies received letters from the FDA asking a bunch of questions about what they were saying on their websites and how they were utilizing it. So in the strictest sense of the word, if you're in a veterinary space and you're doing veterinary usage, that's where you should focus or what you do. We're creating some avenues that if you want to do both and you want to do both publicly, then you can do that. And and that's a fact. For 20 years, we've been using PEMF at all the veterinary venues around the country. I got my first horse by treating a person. They understood, they wanted a demo of what I was going to do to their horse. Can you do some demos to show what the effect's going to be, or what the animal's going to feel chiropractors will show you how they're going to manipulate and what they're going to do. And so there's a lot of different ways to cross that particular bridge. All we are saying is that we don't want you to promote and do things that if someone decides they're going to start regulating efficiently or regulating a lot, we all want to be on good ground. 15 years ago, it wasn't an issue. No one cared. Well, we talked about what we said, what we did. They all thought we were nuts in some respects. But as time has gone on, devices have improved, device numbers have increased. People are using things for their, back in the beginning, I'd go to my veterinarian and say, hey, you're a small animal veterinarian. You need to use this. They'd look at me and say, go on, get out of here. But because they didn't understand PEMF. The horse people did, because that's kind of where it all started, was with Lava Man. Lava Man was a piece of, and Lava Man's trainer's daughter is one of our product specialists, Jamie. And so when I learned that, because I didn't never work on Lava Man, but I was around the people who worked on Lava Man, and did a lot of conversations with some of those folks back in the day, 20 years ago. And so you learn that stuff and you do that. So it just wasn't an issue. No one was out there running around saying, oh my gosh, what's going on? I mean, look at the racetracks today with the HISA things. I mean, they're after everything. They're after the helmets that the jockeys wear. They're after the chest protectors that the jockeys wear. They're after the boots that the jockeys wear. They're after the whips that they're using. They're trying to tell, they're not trying, they're telling them what they can do and what they can't do, how many times they can whip. They're fining people if they whip, I don't know, I think it's 6 times. If they use that whip more than 6 times, they get fined. If they do it in a second race, they get fined more. If they do it in a third race, they lose their purse. I mean, I don't know if those numbers are exact, but that's the process that's going on. So things have changed so much in the last 20 years, 15 years, because of where someone didn't pay attention or someone didn't try to regulate what was going on. That's where the AOPP comes in. There's a promotion for the AOPP. The AOPP is trying to watch out for anybody in the PMF space, help them answer their questions, give them some backing. We've had situations where we've had state veterinary or a racetrack say, you can't do this or you have to do that. And the AOPP has come and stood with us and has spent some of their money to help deal with and talk with these folks. And so it's very beneficial that as practitioners, we support and work with to support everybody. I mean, I've got some competitors I've got some competitors that I'm not happy that they're competitors. I'm not happy with what they do, but that's me. I've been around it a long time, but I'm not going, I want them to be members of the AOPP so they understand what they need to do, or they'll decide, gee, I want to change this and cross this T and dot that I. Then I've got competitors that are straight up as can be and want them in the AOPP because we all need to work together. There's enough for all of us. One of the things that I have espoused since the day we started. We don't want to badmouth anybody. We don't want to knock anybody. We'll compare, we'll discuss, but there's no future in tearing somebody down. We're looking to build the industry for health and wellness and what it can do. So to answer your question, the game and how things have happened has changed. And so we all need to adapt and deal within that change spectrum. Because you've got a Corvette Stingray that'll get from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and go 180 miles an hour, doesn't mean that you're going to drive it in that fashion. And it doesn't mean that you're going to use it. You're not going to take it to the racetrack. But it doesn't mean that you can't drive your friends around in it. Let them understand it and participate in the Corvette with you or a motorcycle with you, whatever it may be. So it's what you say, how you say it, what you do. As an example, I have a Spider, a 3-wheeled motorcycle. My wife wouldn't ride on a 2-wheeled motorcycle with me. I don't know why, but I'm really going over on time, so I'm going to try to get this worked out here. But she would on a 3-wheel. Well, so my license is in Florida, and we brought the motorcycle home, and I wanted to do the motorcycle training in Kentucky. And they said, no, you're licensed in Florida. So when you go back to Florida, because I bought it just before we came home, you go down there and take the training. And I said, what about if I were to get pulled over in Kentucky? Well, you're on vacation. We don't care what your license says. We don't care about that. We care about the infraction, if there was one, or whatever. So you are licensed in Florida. You're on vacation when you're in Kentucky or wherever else you might be. But what your license is still good. You can drive your car. You can drive your motorcycle. You can do all of that. As long as you've got your insurance and the proper papers. So that's how a lot of this plays into place. What you say, how you say it, where you say it, when you say it is what's important and what you need to monitor and how you do and what you do. Hope that answers the questions. Teresa's giving me her number to call her. I'll do that. Let me write that down so I have it. Okay, so we're over time and no other questions here. I think I've gotten pretty much covered all the questions that were presented. There's been a lot, and if you have questions, please submit them to support@MagnaWave PMF, and they will get them answered for you. If it's something that you would like me to participate with, ask them that, and we will certainly set up a meeting or a call to help you out and answer your questions. So it's been a great day. Thank you for being with me. Wave on to better health. Go all the way with MagnaWave. Find out more about the Aura products. Join the AOPP. And let's all build this thing together. Have a great day. We love you guys. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.